We left Washington before our President's Day recess. We watched our colleagues in the Senate vote on a series of bills to address immigration. Only one bill received 60 votes, but it was 60 votes against the bill offered by Senator Grassley, the bill that most closely matches the President's hatred for immigrants. So a supermajority in the Senate opposes the President's plan for massive cuts to legal immigration and massive deportations. Then yesterday, President Trump's campaign against immigrants received another blow. The Supreme Court declined to take a case from California and declined to lift an injunction requiring the Department of Homeland Security to continue to process renewals for the DACA program, which means that those who signed up for DACA over the past 5 years can renew their DACA now, and the arbitrary deadline the President set for kicking 1,000 people per day off the program beginning next Monday has, like so much of what Trump does, been stopped for now. Just take a moment to appreciate what happened. The Attorney General and the President, without offering any evidence, told the American people that they had to end DACA program because it was illegal, and the courts would strike it down, they said. As it turns out, the truth is almost the exact opposite of what the President and the Attorney General have told the country. No court has ever found DACA illegal or even legally suspect. Their actions to kill the DACA program have been found highly questionable by the courts. But let's be clear, Mr. Speaker, just because the courts have taken no action and the Senate failed to take action does not mean that the House and Republicans are off the hook for DACA. The President still plans to kill DACA and make hundreds of thousands of immigrants who are currently documented and known to their government into undocumented immigrants forced underground, vulnerable, exploitable, and deportable. The House has an opportunity, indeed a responsibility, to step up to the occasion and craft a permanent solution. The good news is that the solution is supported by 8 out of 10 voters in the United States, a pathway to citizenship. Can we as a body rise to the occasion to do something Americans want us to do? Can we set aside questions of who wins and who loses politically long enough to do what is right? We won't know unless we try. Many on the other side say there should be only one option. They should leave or be deported. But that is not what we do to American children. And let's be clear, these are American children. We do not force American children to live in exile for 10, 20, 30 years. We do not educate and acculturate our youth and then force them out of the country. If you're an American patriot, the last thing you want is for the world to see us deporting our own Americans. Just ask your donors, the Koch brothers, who know that saving the dreamers is what they call something demanded as patriots. So, Mr. Speaker, the ball is in our court. We need to take action now. If we can draft a compromise to protect dreamers and allow them to live in their home country, America, if both sides concede something to the other, we may get to a solution. That is what leaders must do. A compromise will likely be painful for all. We need to show the country that we are willing to take the heat and that we're ready to legislate. The President set us on this course. He pulled the legal rug from underneath the dreamers and then cloaked his position on immigration in an ethnocentric, pro-European, pro-white agenda that will hurt America. But the racists, and we must call them out for what they are, the racists who are driving immigration policy in the White House are defining the agenda for every House Republican and are shaping the brand of the Republican Party, not just as the party opposed to illegal immigration, but now as the party opposed to legal immigration. Not just as the party who doesn't want poor or Latin American immigrants, but doesn't want brown or black or anyone who isn't white in this country. If that is how my colleagues on the other side of the aisle define themselves and want to be remembered, then they should do nothing. But I have a greater faith in this institution and in its ability of this Congress to rise above racism and to do something the American people want us to do without regard to race, religion, or national origin. I'm a Democrat who will work with Republicans if Republicans are serious about reaching a solution. But it must start with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle saying, yes, we want to solve the problem and we want to rise above the racism emanating from the White House today.